Hey friends, welcome back to OJ Universe. Thank you so much for stopping by and taking a look at this video. This is going to be a good one. My most highly anticipated figures of 2024 have finally arrived. We're doing the review, we're opening them up, we're having a good time, we're checking them out. But unfortunately, there's been a little bit of disappointment to go along with the hype that I have in my own mind for these figures. But we'll talk about that in depth. I want to show you the packaging, the artwork that we get on the back of the box, and it is really striking. It is Kelly Jones artwork, Batman artist, been around for a long time. It does these really exaggerated proportions. You can have a 12 pack with his artwork. But what I really do like is the way, of course, this is a classic artwork. You see Batman getting his back broken by Bane. And as I've grown a bit older and appreciate artwork a little bit more, I can really appreciate the uniqueness of Kelly Jones' artwork on Batman. Very cool to have that on the back of the box. And what you get inside the box, besides these two figures, you get the tray here that is holding two display stands. Doesn't come with that big diorama piece, that display piece that usually most two-pack figures have. A little unfortunate with that. But you do get two new fisted hands for Bane with the knuckle dusters painted up, and you get the flesh tone showing on the gloves. You do get alternate hands for Batman. You get two fisted hands, two gesturing hands, and a batarang. You also get a trading card at the top, which is protected in this nice plastic case, so no damage is going to come to that when you take this figure out of the packaging. And then one nice little surprise here is this diorama, this backdrop diorama of the Batcave. So you can really have some dynamic photos, some fun with this. You do have some trophy cases with some mementos from Batman's Rogues Gallery, a penguin. You also got the T-Rex, the giant trading card, and the penny. Really cool. Really nice additional little touch to add to this figure set and kind of make it a little more special. But the figures here, we're going to talk about these guys in depth. We're going to move Bane out of the way for now, and we'll definitely come back and take a look at him. But we're going to take a closer look at this Nightfall Batman. A lot of people are excited to have this figure. A lot of people are disappointed because they were expecting to have the very first appearance, that Nightfall figure that came out a little while ago. Both of these figures, Bane and Batman, in their original releases, are extremely difficult to find. But this two-pack does remedy the solution a little bit by giving you, you know, basic bodies that were seen in the first wave of these guys, the first appearance in the Mcfarlane toy line. But you're getting some tweaks on it that make it different. So if you do have the originals, I think it's still worthwhile to buy this pack. A lot of great things going on with this figure. So let's really dive into this guy. Now, this version definitely has a brand new head sculpt. I call this a survival mode Batman because, man, he is facing Bane. He's fighting for his life, and you can see he's got blood dripping out of his mouth. He's got his teeth gnarling and grilling at you. He also has that darker shade of black around the eyes. I think that is really a nice touch to set this figure apart. His costume is all ripped up. Now, that is not sculpted detail. It's just kind of stamped on deco, which I have done this in the past. I don't recommend it, but it worked for me. So if you guys really want to try it, definitely go for it. You can take this deco off, and you just use some lemon juice. Your figure's gonna smell lemony fresh, and you can remove all of these excess decals if you don't want them. Just have a plain Batman body. So it's cool to do, and I'm kind of contemplating that because I'm really not the huge fan of all these rips and tears in his costume. One thing I don't like, though, a little disappointing that this is not the sculpted raised logo that we saw in the initial release of the Nightfall Batman. That was a really nice touch they did on that figure. Unfortunately, we don't have that here. The cape. Let's talk about this cape, the wired cape. We've seen these capes on a couple Batman figures. We've seen it on Superman. Absolutely spectacular new addition to these figures. I think you're getting a really high quality figure, 7-inch scale, and this cape just kind of pushes it over the top. It's an extra piece of articulation, really. It flows with the character. The cape is done extremely well. You do have the two shades. You got the black on the inside, the blue on the outside, and it's a very nice shimmering blue. Very nice quality and texture to this cape. It's a thicker material as well, and it definitely holds all of it. Cuts throughout the cape. I love that touch. And man, you can just have a blast articulating the cape and just really having some fun with what you want to do with Batman and express his emotions and feelings and make him really fierce in appearance. Very cool. I like that a lot. Now, the color scheme, if you're comparing it to the original, quite a big difference in color scheme, but I think it sets it apart. And there was one very unique factor about this figure from the other one, which we'll talk about in a sec. I just want to get through the articulation on this guy, and then let's go into depth about a comparison between the two. So the head sculpt, again, brand new, looks sharp. Can look up to, see Bane coming down at you. Doesn't look down very much, does have the side attitude going on. You do have spacer joints here that do give you that extra range of motion. Really nicely done. Flows extremely well. You have the bicep cut, double jointed ratcheted elbows, ball joints at the wrist. Now for the torso articulation, this is pretty important for this figure. He can look back a heck of a lot. So you can get him in that back breaking position very easily. Can't move forward and doesn't have much range of motion there. Ball joint at the waist, ball joints at the hips, double jointed ratcheted knees. And then you have toe articulation, the pivot, ankle rocker, everything else with the sculpted joint. Very nice. The articulation here is definitely what you would want with this figure and expect. Really nicely done. Now I want to bring in the original Nightfall Batman and look at the comparison between these two. Let's move the camera over a little bit. And you can see like there is a stark difference between these two figures. Now, I spent a lot of time looking at both of these figures to see what is going on. And it is the exact same body buck, but with one major difference. Now, if you watch my videos where I created my definitive Superman, this guy right here, we did some serious toy surgery on this guy. We extended the torso and we changed the neck peg and extended that as well. Now, kind of did the same process with this as well. Mcfarlane did this. I didn't do this. You can see this Batman does sit, excuse me, quite a bit smaller than this brand new Nightfall Batman. Why is that? I'm asking myself. There's a reason why. To give him that extra range of motion and articulation to do the backbreak pose, they extended the torso. Now you can see on this Batman here, this is a beautiful Batman, fantastic, love the raised sculpted logo, beautiful. But he has two abs that are visible there, right? Doesn't go back next to nothing for articulation in that torso region. And if you look at this Batman here, you have one, two, and you got a third set of abdominals because they extended the torso. The peg that's shoved up into this torso has been dropped. Check out my videos on Definitive Superman. I did a lot of toy surgery to figure this out because I wondered what the heck was going on with that black solar suit Superman from Lois and Clark. And there was such a big difference between the two figures and my Hush figure. So we figured that out. They dropped that peg and basically extended the torso. Very easy to do, but that's why you have two different sizes and much better articulation in the torso on this figure here. Thought that was a really interesting touch to do. And unfortunately, it does make this figure look very small. It's unfortunate in that sense, but it's simple, easy fix. We can do that to this figure. Boil and pop, take out that pin that's stuck up in the torso, that ball joint, drop it down, don't jam it all the way up into the torso, and you're going to get that extra height and articulation that this figure has. So that's a very interesting point, something that I didn't even realize. I haven't heard many other reviewers talk about, but yeah, it's definitely there. So let's compare some other Batmans as well. You got this big bad boy here. It wasn't my favorite out of that JLA Live that gave me the Plastic Man Build-A-Figure, which I absolutely love. But with some minor tweaks, we've swapped out the head is basically what we did. Still kind of contemplating about painting this a flat black or metallic black, but it definitely stands toe-to-toe with this guy. Because if you see, if you put the original one on, very small. Very, very small compared to this guy. So, yeah, big height difference. Saying that torso does a lot for this figure. And then we got this other one with the cloth wired cape, which I absolutely love. And that is the first appearance Batman. These two guys look awesome together. I'm really anticipating the day when we see this figure, probably like a gold label, a chase figure, without all the battle damage, maybe a new head sculpt. I could definitely see a Neil Adams kind of Batman out of this sculpt in this color scheme. I think that would be awesome and a really nice tribute to Neil Adams, who's had a huge impact on Batman in developing the Dark Knight style. that we saw in comics back in the 70s as well. Very cool. And then, of course, I'm going to bring in this guy as well, just to see how these two guys look together. And I really do like that color contrast, that kind of classic, and a little bit darker, a little bit lighter, but a really definitive Superman in my collection, which I still love to this day. Great looking figures. And then, of course, we're going to bring in this guy here, the Hush Batman. Again, one of my favorites out of this wave. I would love to see this Hush Batman have a cloth wired cape. I think that'd be a game changer. Maybe we'll see that one day. You never know. They've used this body buck a lot, and we've got a lot of good figures out of it. So it'd be neat to see, switch them up a little bit, add that cloth wired cape. So my opinions on this Batman, it's outstanding. I truly love the way it looks. The articulation is really solid. The cape is a game changer. It looks fantastic. It just gives him so much more motion and character. Really amazing figure. So let's bring in Bane. Bane. One of definitely the most standout figures in this entire collection that I have of Batman, of DC Multiverse. It's a figure that, in my mind, was so hyped up, and I was so anticipating it, and it didn't let me down. It does look spectacular. You do need to warm up those joints, though, because we don't want any breakage on this figure. I don't want to see anybody disappointed with a broken Bane. But the figure is, I think, substantially different from the original release. Now, unfortunately, I don't have that original release, but it's a substantial difference between the two figures. This one seems a little bit less geared out, so to speak. It's more kind of like first appearance Bane, really nice stylization. The blue highlights that give it that comic book panel kind of highlighting. At first, I thought, oh man, I am not going to like it, but it just brings the character to life. I mean, it does such a nice job kind of highlighting what's going on with the figure. And unfortunately, it's not on the back, but it has enough deco on the face, on the bodysuit. It looks just fantastic. Now, let's take a bit of a closer look at this head sculpt. The head sculpt itself is a brand new one. The original did have much smaller eyes, and it sits kind of oddly on the body, I gotta say that. So you do have full range of motion. It sits kind of sunken into the body because the traps are so big. But what I think is really interesting, if you pop this head off, extend the neck peg. I think it does have a smaller neck peg. So I am thinking about doing this, getting a larger extended neck peg, putting that in there to get a bit better range of motion in the head. I think that'll be very interesting to try out. The overall detail on the figure is really nice. The sculpted texture on the pants looks really solid, really amazing. I definitely like the way that looks. He does have another kind of texture all over the gauntlet as well. It looks fantastic. He does have that kind of venom emitter, so to speak, on his wrist here. The original release, this was painted red, kind of like it just in a silver tubing that goes into the back of his head. That looks really great. Oh man, this looks awesome. Just the spine work, the bones, the articulation, the stylization on this figure suits it to a T. Now, he doesn't have the spacer joint, but everything is on tight ratchet joints, which is fantastic because this is a heavy figure. It does have a heck of a lot of weight, so you definitely want to support the weight if he's carrying Batman or another character in his hand doing the backbreaking thing. But it just sits really well. It doesn't have double jointed elbows, but he does have a swivel in it, so it gives it a bit more range of motion. The hands are one piece, so they do. Here, I'll just pop this one off. The ball joint is built into the hand, so you have that full range of motion. It just goes into the socket there. Really nice and simple, and you do have a lot of range of motion with that as well. Now for the torso can lean back, forward. It doesn't have any kind of abdominal cut, but it's still really nice and gives it that bit of extra motion that we want for this figure. We don't want a brick Bane, definitely not. You do have the ball joints at the hips, double jointed ratcheted knees. You do have all the toe articulation, which is nice to have, ankle rocker, everything else going on, but you still do get these kind of ugly ball joints here, but they kind of blend it into the boots, so it's not a big contrast, not a big game changer kind of thing. It's okay. Doesn't hurt the figure that much in my opinion, but I really do love the aesthetics on this figure. It looks spectacular, and it sits really hard. This is one of the things about these mega size figures that I wasn't too into in a great extent, because they're so big and such a huge height difference between the regular 7-inch figure. it almost seemed like this is its own scale, its own set of figures, its own kind of line. And it almost is a subline within the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, but I'm going to like it, especially with this figure. It's so imposing, man. It's just such an awesome looking figure. And want to bring in a couple other Banes that are in my collection and just see how things look. So this here, man, this is the brick. This is a freaking solid brick. This is the first Bane figure that McFarlane produced. And that is with the Last Night on Earth figures. It was a Build-A-Figure. Man, it was a colossal disappointment. I like that figure series though. That was pretty cool. The story, the three-part series was damn intense, extremely good. Greg Capullo artwork, Scott Snyder writing it. It's kind of makes you think about it for a long time. It's a really good read. Some something. It's a very more adult kind of read for sure. There's some not gross things, but some things that kind of sit with your mind a little bit with some of the artwork. It's very good artwork, but it's definitely a more mature read. I would not let a 5 or 8 year old or 9 year old read it. They'll be scarred for a hell of a long time. But this is a very interesting figure. Solid brick. I mean, it's heavy as hell. Can't really move. Doesn't have much in the way of articulation. You move it, you know, joints could fall off these hands, come off pretty easy. You got to stick them in there. Very tight. The head sculpt is pretty cool. Definitely like the head sculpt. It does have that Greg Capullo look, but it just feels like, man, what were they thinking when they made this figure? I know they're trying to capture the artwork, which they did. The texturing on the body is incredible, but it just feels so weird to have this figure on my shelf. But it's Bane, and it's a cool, interesting take on Bane. Not my favorite, not when you got this guy, but he's an interesting Bane to say the least. And then we have this one here. Of course, we have the Dark Knight Build a Bane from that figure series. We got all 4 of those figures, but we also got this guy here. This is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Picked this up at GameStop of all places, and literally just sitting on the shelf. Didn't even have a pre-order for it, nothing. It was sitting on the shelf. I immediately grabbed it, and I'm really happy to have this figure in my collection. I doubt if I'll open it. Just, I don't feel like I need to open it, because if I do open the 4 figures that create the Bane and the Build-A-Figure wave from the trilogy, I'm going to have my Bane. Trench coat is really nice, but I'm okay just keeping this, enjoying it in the package. Very cool figure. And on the back, you got the artwork of Bane from the movie. Really cool. Very stylized, very nice. So, the Bane figure, he's pretty damn cool. I want to compare him with another figure here that I have. That's another Build-A-Figure, and of course this is Atrocitus. One of my favorites from the Build-A-Figure kind of lineup, so to speak. I really like the height on him. Definitely powerful, definitely intimidating, and with that texture pattern on the costume, it looks fantastic. And just see a mega figure and a Build-A-Figure, and the size on these two are pretty comparable. Frostus is a little bit bigger, but of course Bane is much bulkier. But it's just really cool to see these guys together and have them in my collection. And then if you wanted to put another kind of bigger figure, see these two guys throw at it, Bane and Lobo. I think that would be so cool to see that. I've never seen it in comics. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I don't think I've ever seen these two guys tussle and go at it in the comics. That would be a really cool battle to see these two guys go at it. Very nice. And I want to bring in kind of like a regular, kind of a DC size figure, 7-inch scale. Joker. Joker looks pretty cool with this as well. Definitely like the way these two guys look. And I want to bring in the first appearance Batman just to see how these guys look in scale, because this is a bit bigger buck for Batman, and I think these two guys look really good. I still don't like my Bane being this big. I like maybe a foot or two taller than Batman, but this for an action figure for a toy, oh man, it is absolutely phenomenal and well worth the price. And I want to bring in the original Nightfall Batman just to see the height difference, and again, yeah, it's pretty big. Very weird that they use the extended torso kind of trick, just switching out that ball peg and just moving it down. It's very interesting McFarlane used that to give him that extra range of motion. So you guys, if you're thinking, my figure doesn't have enough articulation, play around with them. Boil and pop, take these figures apart and kind of do a dissection. wouldn't say these figures specifically, but ones you find on clearance that are like, $10 or something like that. Go for it, man. I did that on my Rebirth Superman because unfortunately I didn't really like that figure that much. The cape, head sculpt was good. I really wanted the head sculpt. It's on my other Supermans. But I really just wanted to play around with articulation, do some dissection to figure out how everything works. So if I want to give my figure a little bit extra articulation, I can do it, especially in that torso area or the neck. Or if I want to take some arms off or swap out the legs or the hips or anything like that, I could figure out how to do that safely without damaging the figure. So I have a lot of fun doing those toy surgeries, so to speak. And then let's bring in one other figure. Yeah, this will be a cool fight. Bane versus Superman. Very cool. I like the way these guys look as well. Very cool on the shelf. A lot of presence going on there. So, guys, this figure set is definitely incredible. If you don't have either of these figures, this is a stellar home run, in my opinion. If you have both of these figures, I still think they hold value and they're going to have a place in your collection. They're very different from the originals, especially, of course, that Batman with the cloth wired cape, the different head sculpt, the color combo. I think this is a home run figure. It looks so damn good. I don't have that Bane, but with the Banes I have, this really sets itself apart from the other two. Not too crazy that Last Night on Earth Bane, but it was the only Bane I had in my collection at the time. Really do like the Tom Hardy Bane. That is a very cool looking figure, but I'm just glad to have this set finally in my collection. I can enjoy it, look at it, play around. We're going to have a lot of fun doing some shorts, some cool action figure photography and battles. So definitely pick this up if you see it. It is available here right now in Canada at GameStop. Even Toys R Us has it in stock. Walmart online has it in stock. So guys, pick this up. You're not going to be disappointed. They are hovering around $99, $100. Amazon, I think, had it for 120, so it's a little more expensive. GameStop with your Edge card and came out to like 80 bucks. So you're gonna save some money there as well. So definitely go for it. You're not gonna be disappointed. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching this a bit of a longer video. I had a lot of things to say about this Bane. Definitely let me know what your thoughts are in the comments about these two figures. If you like the originals better, you like these new interpretations better, let me know. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications to be first notified when a new video pops up. But I appreciate all of you, and thank you so much. Have an awesome day, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.